Welcome to Unleashed at Work and Home. I'm Colleen Pilar, and this is where pet professionals come for honest conversations about what it really takes to show up for yourself while serving the animals you love. If you've ever felt caught between compassion and exhaustion, you're in the right place. Here we explore what it means to reconnect with your inner wisdom and rediscover the joy that brought you to this work. Make sure to join my email community at colleenpilar.com for gentle, practical insights designed specifically for pet professionals. Now, let's dive in. Welcome back to Unleashed at Work and Home. My guest today is Ines McNeil, and she's the chair of APDT and also the owner of the Modern Dog Trainer. Welcome, Ines.
Thank you. It's so nice to be here.
It's so nice to have you here. So can you tell me, just to start off with, what does that mean to be the owner of the Modern Dog Trainer?
My goal is, when I look at like my big vision is that ultimately every community gets access to or has access to a modern dog trainer. And by that, I mean somebody that really is in the weeds in the science of it. They follow best practices. They go above and beyond for their clients and the dogs that they work with. And, they use innovative strategies to elevate their game, their business, their service, their expertise. And so that's really, for me, what it means to be modern, is really being at the cutting edge forefront of the industry.
Cool. And so then I introduced you also as the chair of APDT, but I didn't say what APDT was. So tell us about that, because that kind of relates also to the industry.
Yes, it does. Absolutely. So it is the largest dog trainers organization. And we recently in the fall updated the name to the Association for Professional Dog Training International. One is we added international because it is an international organization. We have people and members all over the world, but we wanted to acknowledge that in our name. And then the second piece of it was going from for dog trainers to for dog training. And that is because we want to make dog training information and expertise more accessible to all fields that touch dogs. It's not just about dog trainers. Dog training happens all the time when you're interacting with a dog, whether you're a groomer or a pet sitter, and even a dog owner. So we wanted to really open our doors to different fields that all serve the same dogs.
Somehow I missed that. I did not know that the name had modified. When did it happen? In the fall? Is that what you said?
In this fall, yeah. So fall 2024 for those listening, yeah.
Well, hopefully for the rest of people, it's not a you heard it here first kind of news, because that's been a little while.
Right?
But for me, I heard it here first. Thanks for telling me about that. Okay, so clearly you have a passion for dogs and dog training and professionalism. Has that always been your goal? Like, the question I just love to ask everyone is like, when you were 10, what did you think you would be? So was that what 10-year-old Inez thought?
No. I think probably like most dog trainers, I wanted to be a vet. And I even went as far as one of the summers in high school, I went to the A&M vet clinic summer camp for kids at that age and, had a blast. It was really awesome. And then my first job, the day after I turned 16, I was at a vet clinic. So kind of as a vet tech assistant, I forget what the name was officially, but, I was right in there, and, learning all the ins and outs of a vet clinic. And 6 months into it, I realized this is not the place for me. Mm-hmm. And I, throughout my early years, I had one neighbor that was big into animal rescue, dogs specifically. She had 15 to 20 dogs at any given time. And then I had another neighbor that had 25 to 35 cats at any given time. So I was kind of immersed in the dog rescue, cat rescue world as well, just growing up. And spent my weekends in high school going to the dog shelter, no-kill shelter down in Texas, and saw the realities of that. And really, all of those experiences together hit home for me that the challenge in helping dogs really, the medical stuff is pretty straightforward, but really it's the behaviors of a dog that can keep them from getting adopted. And that's really where my passion started, is learning about behavior. And I ended up going to college for biology, and that really served with a minor in psychology. That really served to help me understand the science behind animals and physiology and how it all works together. Um, and then the modern dog trainer started as a result of running my own dog training business, realizing that I had a lot to learn about the business side of stuff. I learned a lot about dogs pretty easily. That was fun. It's easy. But there was really nothing online at the time. This was back 2011, 2012, when there was nothing online about what to do to run a group class or how to run private lessons effectively or anything like that. And so I wanted to put that information online for other trainers, other up and coming trainers that, were alongside with me to learn kind of best practices around that.
It was for a long time sort of a everyone invent the wheel situation
Yeah.
for classes.
Yeah.
In 1991, when I started training, I found the Volhard book that had a 6-week class put, laid out in it. Not at all
Yeah.
methods that I would use today, but I was so
Right.
relieved to find a curriculum and to have something to use. And APDT played a big role in my development over the years because I was able to learn from others and get curriculum pieces and ideas from people because we were all sort of just winging it. Like, which
Right.
and to a certain extent, yes, we want room for creativity and flexibility, but also
Yeah.
to have something to lean on can be very, very helpful. Um, in
Yeah.
fact, I'm taking my dog to courses with 2 different training facilities in our area, and I can feel Leslie McDevitt's Control and Leash stuff throughout their programs, and I think, like, how nice it must be for them to have
Yeah.
this idea of, like, here's what we can do and here's how we can solve these things, and totally different groups, but they're using these techniques slightly differently, but I can see the root underneath it. Which is kind of cool to see how when we share our information, it makes everybody a little bit better.
Awesome. Yeah. Yeah.
What gave you this is gonna sound bad, I don't mean it to sound bad, the oomph, the courage to be like, "Well, there aren't good curriculums out there, so I'm gonna be the one who does it." Like, we have a tendency sometimes to not share our work for fear
Yeah.
someone will judge it. But you said, "No, no, no, we need
Yeah.
to share this, we need to do this."
Yeah. No, that's a great question. I guess back in 2011, 2012, there was a big push to, get blogs up and going, right? So a lot of people were starting blogs, they were writing. So it was kind of more sharing my journey was the intention behind it and what I was
Mhm.
learning and things that I would learn from other people or that I would see, commented in Facebook groups. I would kind of put that together in really helpful articles. Um, and then really what got me blogging initially was my own experience with my own dog. And I started the crossovertrainer.com, which I don't keep, it's still up, but I don't maintain it anymore. But that is where I was blogging about my kind of journey from being more of a, dominance based not force-free trainer to a positive reinforcement-based trainer and kind of what that transition was like for me and my dog. Despite having spent years volunteering at shelters, working with hundreds of dogs, of course, I adopt the one dog that my techniques were escalating his behavior and instead of de-escalating or
Mhm.
suppressing. And so, it was meant to be, obviously. But it definitely inspired me to share my journey, my beliefs. I also hosted several guest bloggers where they contributed their stories and their articles to the crossover trainer as well. And so that grew an audience of other trainers that, had gone through similar experiences that really resonated with what I was going through. And then after that blog, I started the Modern Dog Trainer because I had an audience of dog trainers at the time already. And that was really an area, the business side of stuff was an area that I noticed was a really big struggle for them. So I wanted to help, as much as possible. Because for me, what I've noticed over the years is just that the business side of stuff, the people, client management, sales, marketing, that is really what burns people out and what holds people back. And so I really wanted to provide some solutions for those things.
Yeah, it is a huge factor in the burnout as
Yeah.
it's that part as not as reinforcing
Right.
for many of us as the work with the actual
Yes.
animals.
Yes. Unfortunately, we still have to
Yeah.
eat and pay for healthcare. Right?
Oh, yeah, the realities of modern life. Uh, so did you have any career jobs, anything outside of animals, or have you always worked with animals?
I have always worked with animals, but I have had other jobs, like in marketing specifically. I have had corporate jobs where I have, essentially acted as a marketing strategist for Fortune 500 companies in IT, in top 50 accounting firms. And so I do have kind of that corporate experience of the formal structure of things. For me, those companies move way too slowly, honestly. And so I love being able to be agile in my approaches and really focus on what works, what really drives new clients and grows your bottom line as an individual business owner and entrepreneur.
So if you were to give us one simple tip, what would that be?
Oh, it's hard to narrow it down to one. But the easiest thing to do, and it's something that's kind of a kick I'm on right now, just because it gives you so much control over who sees your marketing, and that is to have an email list. So you want to always be in control of the contact information of your potential clients and current clients. And so having an email list for yourself, for your business, allows you to get in touch with that group of people, those people that are your fans, whether or not they've worked with you yet. Um, and so you can contact them anytime you want, however you want, to fill your schedule. And I think too many people rely on social media. And really, social media can change at any given
Mhm.
time, whether it's the algorithm not showing your stuff anymore or flat out just canceling your profile because they don't like what you're posting or for whatever reason, right? It could be a mistake, but there's no way to really get a hold of them. And you don't own the followers or the people that like your page. There's no way for you to get in touch with those people.
Yeah, I definitely have seen posts from people who are saying things like, "I'm in Facebook jail and I don't know why, and I don't know how to get out, and there's
Right.
no human to talk to figure it out." And
Yeah.
that is a big concern. Are there a bunch of trainers who don't have email lists, but and in this okay,
Yeah.
and it makes sense. I just hadn't really
Yeah.
thought about it until you said it that way.
Yeah. And it often just happens because you do get busy. You do get
Mhm.
referrals. People do like working with you. So sometimes it's almost because you are so successful, you haven't had that need to lay that piece of the foundation of your
Mhm.
business. But the time will come where you maybe want to pivot. You want to go virtual. You want to offer new things. You want to grow, hire a team. You're going to need the systems to be able to kind of then filter and funnel people to those offers, to those team members. And the number one way you can do that is through an email list. And so the sooner you start, it's almost like investing. The sooner you start, the bigger the list is going to be over time. It kind of can grow on its own. With people joining from your website, or you can promote it on your social media. But you want to own the contact information, whether it's just an email address, or maybe it's even down to physical addresses, right? You can actually, ask people for physical addresses to mail letters and things. Um, you want to own that information so that you can contact them when you want, instead of relying on social media to do you a favor,
Mhm.
which isn't guaranteed.
No, definitely not. So I ask all my guests to share words that are meaningful to them. And the words you shared actually relate to everything that you've just shared, which is feel the fear and do it anyway. So I had asked you the rude question of
Yeah.
like, what gave you the confidence to put that all out there? And presumably part of the
Yeah.
answer is feel the fear and do it anyway. I'm curious,
Right. Right.
what do those words mean to you and when did they come into your life as
Mm.
motivators?
Wow, I didn't expect to get emotional over it. um, where to start? Like, how far back do we go? I guess everything good in my life has come from feeling the fear and doing it anyways, choosing it for myself, whether it's even down to, sticking with my husband or choosing to be with my husband at the time. I wasn't necessarily ready, but I knew it was the right answer and the right choice for me. Um, and even when you think about having a child, like, is anybody ever really ready? Like, that is a very scary
Mhm.
thing, and you do it anyways, right? Um, so anytime I have, outreached to somebody or, um, chosen to like, I did used to have a podcast, that would require a lot of outreach and getting people scheduled and all of that. Every choice that I've made that is scary, um, has worked out. I guess the ones that I can remember have worked out, right?
Mhm.
You probably have buried any that didn't work out, but so I think that's part of growing life, and that's very important to me is growth. Growth is not durable. So, if you're going through life and thinking that you should stay in your little comfort zone and everything will be fine, you won't find that growth that you're probably seeking. So that's where it comes from for me, is everything really has been scary. It's never not scary. And I think people assume when they see people growing in their careers or life and everything that, it just is coming easy or, things work into them. It doesn't mean that they didn't go through struggle or significant fear in choosing that direction for their career or their life. So, yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. That's beautiful. It it mirrors one of the phrases that I use a lot with people, which is showing up for yourself. And that requires us to make some of these choices that feel scary. And what does that mean? It's different for each of us. But when we say like, "Oh no, I'm going to make my own choices. I'm going to do the things that matter to me." There is some fear around it and also everything good that you've ever had comes as a result of acknowledging that it matters to you and that it's meaningful to you and that it's worth the fear and the work of doing it. But the fear is usually harder than the work for most of us.
Right.
So was
Yeah.
10-year-old Inez someone who could feel the fear and do it anyway? Or is that something that came to you later?
I want to say yes. I was never part of like the in crowd. So kind of everything going through life was fearful or, it caused fear. I speak very good English, but it actually wasn't my first language. I'm French originally. And so, you know, I very much was an immigrant growing up in like a new culture. My parents were French, and I don't know a lot of pop culture things because I did grow up with a French household versus all the American friends I was with. But yeah, so I always felt like everything was scary, whether it was reading out loud in class or um, participating in groups. It was all scary. So I just kind of, I guess, probably learned to do it anyway, because I also am very just determined um, and driven to kind of achieve the things that I set out to. Um, yeah, I always have lived with that. I have actually, something that's interesting is I have been called fearless before. And somebody even gave me a bracelet with that word on it. And I actually despise that word because I don't do anything fearless. There is always fear. And so I get annoyed when people think that I am fearless because you just can't see it, I guess.
Yeah.
So to assume that I am fearless is incorrect. And I think that's maybe people taking the easy way out, right? If you think somebody else is fearless and you're fearful, you think maybe, oh, I can't do that. Like that's too much. I can't. So yeah.
I think it's such a life process, and the good news is there's no end point for any of us. I think all of us over and over and over are stepping into ourselves and whoever that is, like who is the true you? And it always has some fear related to it. I think always. When you said about like I was never in the in crowd, I'm super curious to talk to somebody who feels like they were and whether they felt they belonged, because my experience in talking to people
Right.
is that all of us feel a little bit of a sense of disconnection and loneliness at times, even among other people, of like, I don't fit in because, and then our brain fills in the because.
Yeah.
So your story resonated with me. I did not grow up in a French household, and yet I was afraid to speak in class and afraid to do group projects, and please don't make me read aloud.
Yeah.
I went through
Yeah.
college deliberately choosing classes that would not require any sort of oral presentation because I was so uncomfortable with all of that, because I didn't fit in. So who fits in? Nobody fits in. We're all having our own internal experience, and the actual, I don't know, it feels to me like the actual growth and comfort comes when we allow ourselves to decide what it is that matters to us and we step into it, even though it's scary. But when we step in, we're like, oh, yes, this is for me. This is what I want. This is what I need. And that could be parenting. It could be career. It could be just, asking someone, do you want to go meet for coffee or have a lunch date or something? But when you have that experience of you took an action on behalf of yourself and you got feedback internally, like, yep, yeah, that matters to me. There's something really powerful in that. And we're all on our own timelines. I was a slower starter on that than many. But yes, I would agree that everything good in my life was on the other side of fear. And it's an important thing for us to look around and see the people who we think are just rocking it and know that they too have fear. And they too feel a sense of disconnection and perhaps lack of belonging at times. Like maybe I don't fit in, maybe I'm different or So thank you for sharing.
Yeah, maybe we can ask my 5-year-old, soon to be 6-year-old redheaded daughter. She seems to feel like she walks around life thinking everybody loves her. So it's cute to see. And that's also obviously before things like middle school and high school come into play, right? Like she's in a little bubble right now, and I just want to try and keep her in the bubble. But she does have that assumption that everybody loves her. And yes, she's got like the cutest hair. Everybody comments on how adorable and, great hair she has. So she has that going for her. But yeah, maybe we can ask her and see how she goes through the world.
That's making me think of like puppy socialization and like what a gift it is to her to have had enough positive experiences at these very young ages of that I am likable, I am lovable, I am worthy. That when she encounters some of these less positive experiences, maybe she can fall back on them in a really beautiful way, because it's hard. It's tricky, and we hate to see. I mean, the studies on girls show like the self-doubt creeps in really, really young, and it's a lot because of messaging, and so much of the messaging is unintentional. Like even for your daughter's hair. Like, if everybody's complimenting her on her hair, then how much of her own identity becomes connected to her hair? Like, do you like me without my hair? Do you like me if, do you like me just for me?
Yes.
And there's some of that, like when we say to little kids, "Oh, you look so pretty in that dress." Well, are you valuing me because I look
Mhm.
pretty, or are you valuing me because I'm me? Or, like we're not
Yeah.
nobody's trying to hurt that little girl in any way, and yet some of those messages
Right.
can,
Right.
over time, wind up being like, "Oh, this is what I am valued for." And it's
Yeah.
tricky, but having this whole experience of she's just moving through the world thinking everybody loves her, isn't that wonderful? Because guess what? We
Yes.
really do. We
Yes.
really do love her. Like, there's this experience of
Yeah.
how amazing every child is, and guess what? We all grow up into adults, and
Right.
that child is still in there. That amazing kid is still in
Yeah.
there. It's just maybe hidden under protective layers for some of us at times when we're looking less
Right.
adorable and a little more crotchety at times.
Yes, exactly.
I really like your words. They're words that we've heard before, but I like that you share the story behind, like, what they mean to you. Um, were your parents people who push through fear? Or is that something that you saw it
Yes.
modeled?
Yes. They left their entire family and home to go halfway around the world to live in Texas. Because my dad and my mom obviously was fully on board with the vision as well, but he always pushed and wanted to go beyond how he grew up. He grew up on a very small farm in the middle of nowhere, France, and somehow he saw that he wanted to grow beyond that and find new places to live and grow. And he wanted, obviously, um, ways to grow his career, have make sure obviously the kids had opportunities that we wouldn't have had if we had grown up in kind of a small town, country town in France. Um, so moving two young kids. I was 4 at the time. My brother was 2, and his wife over required a lot of bravery
Oh, yeah.
and courage. And I'm sure it didn't come without fear. I know that he actually fell really ill right before the trip. So I know that there was a lot of stress involved.
Mm.
It was kind of more like a autoimmune reaction.
Mhm.
Um, that was pretty scary, I guess, for them back in the day. But yeah, so obviously we know now as adults, like that would have been a huge undertaking. Um, so yeah,
Yeah. I can't even imagine it, really, when I think about it.
right?
Like, moving countries is hard enough, moving countries with my 2 little kids and, not having the
Yeah.
support system and not knowing, like, when
No,
you have to
no.
recreate everything. You have to figure out where the grocery
Yeah.
store is, where the dentist is, what the school system is like, what the language will
Right.
like, obviously, you know the
Yeah.
language, but, like, your children have been growing up in a French-speaking household, and now everyone's gonna speak to them in a language they don't understand. Like, that's a big,
Right.
big thing to make the decision that for our family, we're gonna do this.
Something that was interesting, and I don't know why it happened, but when I didn't speak English for a long time. I think I sat around, or I obviously didn't sit around as a child, but I just soaked it in. I listened and listened and listened, and I think my kindergarten teacher was like, She hasn't spoken in like 6 months, right?" And then when I did finally speak, it was like perfect English. So I think that was interesting, and my parents still, or my mom still, brings it up that, like, I chose not to speak for 6 months, but that I would take the time to listen. I'm a very good listener, and that was really a something that was interesting about my transition to the US. Um, and quite shocking. I think that if you knew you had a small child in your classroom that didn't speak in any English when she got there, and then all of a sudden 6 months later she's not said a word and now she's speaking perfect English.
Mhm.
It would be quite interesting, I think, now as looking down as an adult.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm curious too how that played a role in you becoming a behavior specialist, because
Right?
it's listening, but it's also observing and
Yeah.
watching and absorbing and thinking about and not taking action until you knew enough that you knew enough, like
Right.
to create this
Yeah.
internal sense of like, what am I looking for? What do I need to know? What's here? What's not here? That's a really interesting piece. I'm curious about that, how that
I know.
played a role. I bet it did, but you can't actually figure out exact cause and effect on so many of these things that have cool ripples. Um,
Yeah.
wow, that's so interesting. Um, I'm tempted to ask a further question, but I always tell my guests I'm trying not to do coaching calls on podcasts. So here I am. I'm not doing a coaching call on a podcast. So
Oh.
instead, let me ask, if I could give you a magic wand and you could grant one wish for all pet professionals, what would that
Mm.
be? What would you give us? What would you bestow upon us?
For you to see the impact you have on families, not just the dogs or the pets that you work with. So I think, at least of the people that I coach, that's often something we really dive into and utilize in marketing, right? Because obviously marketing is speaking to people. Um, and I think that's so missed. I think obviously we all get into it because we love dogs. Um, and we forget the impact that our work can have on a person, on a family. You can see them go from being at odds and frustrated and like sometimes on the verge of divorce, right? To really helping them communicate not just with their dogs, but often using that as an avenue to help them get on the same page and communicate with each other. Um, and so, obviously you don't want to play therapist, but there's just so many different areas of someone's life that you're impacting beyond just like their relationship with their dog and the dog's behavior itself. So to allow other pet professionals to realize that and see that would be really amazing to be able to do.
Thank you. We'll take it. We'll take it. That's a lovely wish. That would help all of us. So that's beautiful. Thank
Yes.
you. If people wanted to learn more about you and your work, how could they do that, Ines?
Yeah, no, absolutely. You can find everything on my website at themoderndogtrainer.net. So yeah, we have lots of different template bundles, coaching opportunities, and a membership, and all kinds of other resources to really help accelerate your growth as a dog trainer.
Well, thank you so much for talking with me today. It's been so fun.
Thank you. Yes, no, this has been really great. Thank you so much.
That's our conversation for today. If something we talked about resonated, I invite you to sit with it. Notice what feels true and what you want to explore further. You don't have to have it all figured out to start moving toward what matters. Whatever showed up for you today, clarity, questions, even resistance, trust that it's pointing you towards something important. For more support, join my weekly notes at colleenpilar.com. And until next time, remember, you are enough. Always. Just as you are.